Yay! Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Raw with Rach podcast. My name is Rach, and I'm your host today. And I'm very, very honored and excited to be celebrating Andreas from Andreas Embodiment. And can you remind me of the second one? Awakening Game? Did I get that right?
Awake in the game. Yeah.
Awaken the Game. Thank you and welcome, Andres, for coming to join me on my humble podcast. Yay!
Thanks for having me, Rach. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I'm very to introduce you properly is Andreas, a psychic channel and spiritual confidant. And yeah, for those listening, we've already had like a good conversation beforehand. And I'm just so excited to share your gifts with the world, and share your journey. And for me, I have absolutely loved watching you over the years evolve and like witnessing you step into your own awareness and your own power, and then seeing you share that with others. And I've, been a client of yours in different aspects, and I just absolutely love what you do. So I'm really excited to share with the people who don't know you, and for people who do know you, just to be able to hopefully like cheer you on and celebrate you from their headphones.
Excellent. I'm so excited for that. And of course, being the Lionsgate portal today, it just adds like extra energy to that. So I'm raring to go.
Yes, and I'm so happy we're doing it today as well. And I want to just mention too, Andreas, you put out a message yesterday about the Lions portal, which I received today after I had literally done exactly what you'd said, which I was like, Andrew, are you watching me? But focusing on just being. And to paraphrase, your message was like, if that just means lying out in the sun, like just doing, instead of following or like being pressured to manifest or, take action. And I believe the message was to take no action. Maybe that is the action. And
Mm.
that resonated so, so deeply with me. So I'm really glad that you did that because it's not the norm.
Yeah, I'm glad that it resonated. Like that came from a deep place of my own sense of frustration with all of the messaging that I've been seeing on social media of late with regard to Lionsgate Portal, because there's this tendency to make it about doing something, especially with the manifesting stuff. It's like, I saw TikToks that were like, if you're not seizing this opportunity, then you're missing out and you're going to miss this gate. And I was feeling so much pressure thinking, wow, I've been on a spiritual journey for like 17 years and I'm feeling all of this pressure and weirdness around this. I can't imagine what somebody who's been doing this for 2, 3 years or who's only just awakening to their own journey would be feeling. And I mean, the way I see it with all portals, whether they're like the Lionsgate portal or any other astrological
Mm.
portals that take place, is they're an opportunity for us to go into our own relationship to our spirituality or our connection to that. And all of this other stuff is just the mental fluff, the mental noise. It's almost like the gimmick around that. And if it resonates, cool, like go for it. But I think for a lot of people, they just do it because they think they have to do it, except well, that's how you do it right. And I mean, that,
Mm.
that that kind of backfires. That's not really how the gate is designed to to be in relationship with our own energies. So yeah, I mean, for me today, I've been hanging out with my family, like and doing stuff like that, and just being in the gratitude of that. And I think that's been fantastic. And being on this podcast is like extra delicious.
Yay, so juicy. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I totally agree. Like so something I've been focusing on this week particular is just like giving myself permission to rest and slow down. And something I've been doing every day this week has just been going outside, having my lunch in the sunshine, which has been divine this week, and just being. Like some days I've been listening to the Reconnected app. I've been following up on just some breathwork things, which has been great. But then like today I just sat and listened to the birds, because the birds, I don't know, you know those days when you're like, gosh, nature is singing today. Like it is just like, I feel like we're kind of stepping into this like a reawakening, you know, as spring is coming, and like the earth is kind of like just starting to like wake up a little bit, and the birds are just so vibrant. And I was like, this is living. Like, this is what I need to do. And like, I had moments where I was like, oh, I should do this, I should do that. And I'm like, no, let's release that. So I did like a little birding ceremony just for myself. Like, wrote down some things that I want to release, some things that I've been, or patterns I've been becoming aware of this week, particularly. And just laid down in the sun, and it was freaking awesome. So yeah, and then
Yeah.
I came inside, checked my phone, got that message, and I was like, okay, thanks, universe. I'm on track.
Exactly. And what I
There's,
love about that is it reminds me of when one of my friends said to me, like, assume that non-action is the action, and then aligned action will come from there when it's meant to. And when that just hit me, because I was like, I'm somebody that's admittedly have been quite a chronic doer. Like, I was raised in a family of entrepreneurs. They're all generators, if anyone follows human design. And so I have really been raised to just go, 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 go. And I couldn't do that. And so when that little tidbit about non-action being almost like the default state, that really like threw my world, and like, whoa, like, holy moly. But like, when I've noticed that when I take the non-action approach, then the right action always comes up. Just as you said, like, you went there to be and to chill and to have your lunch, and then out of that came this like beautiful burning ceremony. Was that today?
yeah, that was today.
I mean, that's a beautiful way to tune into the Lionsgate portal energy. And that came out of the non-action. It was like that natural part of us that
Mm,
that knows what to do next. And it's a different voice, right? It's a different impulse than the like, oh gosh, what do I have to do next? Which is the brain, the fear, the ego's like trying to like work it all out. And
yeah.
so to me, that's such a damn divine example.
Yeah, thank you. And like, yeah, for those listening, we are two projectors. So
I
I
forgot to mention that. Yeah.
two of the projectors here that need that, but have been conditioned to do the things. And I did catch myself today, and like I noticed, I was like, like, okay, I've had a little bit of rest. Now I should do this. I was like, no, it's not enough. Like, just calm the farm. Just be. So yeah, and yeah, again, and it wasn't like I was like, oh, it's Lionsgate, I'm going to do this on this day or whatever. It was like, let's see what happens. And it's the same as like what comes up today. I'm fully trusting that whatever needs to be received by our listeners today will be received. Because yeah, and also Lionsgate is my brother's birthday. And
Oh,
I'm
wow.
always, yeah, so he's 8th of the 8th. And I think that's just very, very cool.
It is very cool. It's very lucky and auspicious for him.
Mm. Yes, powerful little being. So I'm hoping he's having a great birthday. He'll never listen to this, but hopefully it's a message. Oh gosh. So Andrea, something that we do focus on every time I do the podcast is to share. I'd love for you to share a book or an article or even like a podcast or anything that you're experiencing and how it's influencing your self-care.
Yeah, beautiful. So what I'm currently listening to slash reading, it's an audio book.
Oh, I'm all audiobooks, totally all for them. Yes.
They're so good. And this is an oldie but a goodie. It's Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, or Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. Uh, so I first discovered Eckhart Tolle when I was a teenager, and I picked up The Power of Now, and I couldn't really understand it back then. It was like this, the kind of almost spiritual language he was using just went over my head, and I was like, I don't know what this cuckoo is talking about. I want to know, but I don't understand. And about 2 months ago, I picked up The Power of Now again, and I was like, oh wow, this is hitting on such another level and layer now. And so I then moved into A New Earth, and it's impacting me and my self-care because of the way that book is really about the power of the now as well, in that it's really along the lines of what you were saying, Rach, which is like the being. And
Mm,
when we come into the present moment and really be in that present moment, regardless of what's happening outside or whatever is happening in our world, it helps us to really engage with the world from a place of truth, and from a place of inner presence and ease. There's so much ease in the now, almost always, regardless of
mm,
what's happening in your life. At least that's what I've found. And so it's gotten to the point where, by just practicing presence, which could look like doing breath work, but for me, it really just looks like sinking into being in my body in the now moment and just focusing on that. Uh, it 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 it's like an act of self-care in itself, because I found it's like a walking meditation. It's like
mm.
meditation always. Meditation on crack, I find it really helpful. And that has just, it's almost meant that my need to carve out self-care has become less important, because I'm actively carving that into my waking moment through that choice of presence.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh, I love that. And I'm such a big believer in that books find us, and they find us at the right time. And, you know, when you were younger and you came across
The power of now.
The Power of Now, it wasn't the right time, but it was almost like, I feel for you, I'm getting tingles, like it was like a message from the universe of like, this is where you're going. Like, you like, take what you want from it. And I had an experience like that, similar like experience with energy, being a feng shui book that I reread 2 years ago when we were building our home. And there were so many principles that came up that I was like, oh, this resonated with me when I was 14. That kind of, without me even consciously becoming aware, like kind of started to weave my path, because I just really connected with this book, because it was all about energy and everything having a spirit, everything having life to it. And I was like, oh, that's where that came from. So there's obviously a past life, like, we know, that that weave through past lives, and that hit me at that point. And then, oh
Beautiful.
gosh, how many years later, 20 years later, still flowing, but becoming more aware of it. But yeah, I just love how you've described not having to carve out self-care time, because you're living a life of care for yourself. And
Mm.
that is just so powerful. And that is embodiment, right? You're embodying mindfulness and presence and self-love. All, you've just described that perfectly, which, I mean, Andreas embodiment. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And if
Yes.
I could also just share, like, I had a little giggle to myself internally, because you were talking about, like along the lines of being authentic, and you mentioned ease. And there's so many keywords that you just mentioned there that I have been like really calling in this week. And so something that I'm focusing on is like birthing with softness, this new version of mothering, because I just have been, I feel like I've just been on like a hamster wheel and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And then I've just had this realization. I'm like, I'm in a state of I'm challenging myself because I'm not here, and I need to just slow down and embrace like welcome ease and just be. And oh, my week has been so much better for even just bringing that to awareness. And it's been something I've also been trying to call in, or just noticing that I've been missing my spiritual practice since becoming a mom. And so this week, it just so happened to fall in this week, but I'm very keen on the Reconnected program, and they were doing a 5-day breathwork series that I've been a part of. And I was also doing a rebirthing or birthing the mother program at the same time. So, and everything's just kind of like, like the synchronicities are just snowballing. And then you're mentioning this, and I'm just like, oh gosh, like the messages are coming through for me very strongly. So thank you. And again, I'm just feeling like that strong alignment right now. So yay, I'm excited.
And like throughout all of that, you're still being a mom, aren't you? It's not like your world has just stopped for you.
Oh gosh, no.
Yeah, you've made a choice to rewire something there, or to re-inspire, or perhaps I see it as regenerate, like regenerate the soil that is you as a mother and what is required for that. And I'm very excited about that. Like, I've got one of my cousins is literally like a month away from birth, and she's the first person in our entire family to actually have a kid. Oh my gosh, it's like
Jeez. That's not Daddy, that's Andreas. Say hi.
Hello.
This is fun. And you guys haven't met yet, have you?
No, we haven't.
I know. It's been like the past like 19 hey. 19 months has just been such a blur, but here she is, my darling daughter.
Oh, like
yeah. Yeah, I know. How's that?
Talking about mum, and then she came.
You came in. Daddy went. Yeah, Daddy's at work.
Ah, I see.
Hey, yeah. Hey, can you let Mummy and Andres have a little chat? Can we keep doing the podcast? Yeah, is that okay? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Which? Yeah. Podcast. That's what we're doing. Remember I was saying that, Mummy, I'm going to have a chat with a friend? Oh, yeah. Did you just remember? Yeah, Daddy's work. This is Mummy's work. It just looks a little different. It looks very different. Yeah, that is a photo of you. I've got photos of her on my screen. Wow. Yes. What is it called? Like desktop.
Got it. You nailed it.
Yeah, that's it. My darling girl, I'll take you out. I'll still be connected, so I'm still chatting. Bye.
Bye. It was lovely to meet you.
It's lovely to meet you. Here we go, darling girl. Bye. Yeah. You okay out here? Oh, yeah, a little bit. I love you. Also, those listening, so I can just ditch that. Oh, look at that. Hang on. We'll just keep chatting. We'll come back. We'll come back to this. And I might just pause for a moment. Oh, yeah. Thank you for that. I mean, that's my life. But yeah, that was quite interesting. She just ran in at the right time. I was like, hi,
Very divine.
I that's me. She's still doing a thing, guys. Don't you think that I'm having a break? Oh goodness. Okay. And breathe. So Andres, yeah, I've loved witnessing your growth and seeing you take the courage to express more of yourself and step into this psychic channeling, spiritual guide, I'd like to say. And what I love most about that is you're stepping into your authentic self. And I know that hasn't been easy for you. And if you're comfortable, I would love to understand a bit more about how, like, what was the calling, or the message that you chose to follow? What came up for you to, I'm sure there was a lot of eek, a lot of probably, yeah, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I'd just love to know a bit more about your story, because it feels from the outside that you have accepted, surrendered, and and shone your light with so much grace. And there's so much power in that, that I feel anyone listening, whether they're on a spiritual journey or not, can be inspired by. No pressure.
No, I don't feel any pressure. Like it was actually like just hearing you reflect that felt like such an exhale for me because you're right. Like the word surrender is really relevant to what that process has been like. And if I'm being honest, I was not surrendered to that authentic calling for many years. And in fact, the early stages of my business, Andreas Embodiment, I spent maybe 5 years building a men's tantric business, which is certainly part of what I'm here to do, but was always almost like a placeholder for what I knew in my deepest knowing, what I actually wanted to do and what I felt called to do intuitively, spiritually, from the deepest place within me, to which is to be sharing this psychic channeling, to be a light worker proudly, to stand for a new earth or consciousness that is in alignment with everything to do with this idea of light. And that has felt honestly like a dharma or like a birth mission for such a long time. However, I am 31 now, and it's taken me like until that time to actually feel as though I could step into that place. There was the catalyst was actually a relationship, like a romantic relationship, where I was in a relationship with this beautiful man. He's a lovely human. However, he didn't really validate or see the spiritual side of me, and certainly not historically woo-woo things like connecting into spirit guides of myself or the people that I work with, connecting into this idea of a higher consciousness, and then bringing that through my own body and my own voice as a channel. Like that was so beyond his world, like he's a diesel mechanic, like so in the earth, in
Yeah.
the 3D plane. And I felt so deeply unseen and so scared to show myself as myself in that relationship. It just put on show what I've been doing, or what I had been doing in other aspects of my life, one of which was my business, where I was sort of drip feeding these deeper
Mm,
aspects of my spirituality, but ultimately leading with something that I knew the populace could hold, which
mm,
is less edgy. And maybe it's rich to say that being a gay men's tantric practitioner is not edgy, but that was actually a far less edgy road to travel, because at least there was a framework around it.
Mm.
Like, people know what sex is. People know what the idea of like something to do with tantra. It's mysterious and sexy, and something about the Kama Sutra. And there's a little bit of a something around that within the mass population.
Yeah.
And that felt safer for me to attach to, until that point where that inner nudge just kept nudging me so much that I couldn't ignore it anymore. I was like, if I keep ignoring this, I'm going to be very unhappy. My body is probably going to be like not very healthy.
Mm.
And as a projector, our signature theme is success. So it wasn't until I started really owning that depth of my soul and putting that out on the line to be seen that I started to feel successful. And, awake in the game is such a new aspect of my business, which ultimately my business is a vehicle for my light work.
Mm.
Uh, it was deeply terrifying. Like, just like starting a podcast, it's the same piece where I started a YouTube channel for my psychic channelings. We just hit 102 subscribers yesterday. Thank you. Thank you. Like, starting a YouTube channel from scratch is the most terrifying thing. And starting a new Instagram account from scratch is so terrifying, because you go, God, I've built all of this momentum in my life around this identity, and
Mm.
people see me in this way. But what's true for me is actually pivoted from that in some way, whether it's a little or a lot. And that means there's somewhat of a surrender required, a burning of the old, or a letting go of the old, to create that spaciousness. And now, like, I firmly believe that all of us have our own gifts, our own signature to offer to the world. And for me, that a lot of that, it comes through my throat and my throat chakra, through the light language, through the channeling. Like, all of that is very throat chakra. Don't know why that's the thing, but it is a thing. And for others, it's going to be something different. But I truly believe that we all have those pieces, and that what seems to get in the way is how we're going to be perceived by, like, our friends, family, and loved ones, because I think they're the ones that we're most terrified about. Like, what are they going to think if I reveal this woo-woo-ness? Are they going to
Mm.
be able to palate that, or am I going to be ostracized from the tribe, which probably just looks like us being afraid they're going to think we're a weirdo.
Mm.
But I think that has been the catalyst for me, is just to almost have it so obvious when someone didn't see me, how badly that felt, and to see
Yeah.
how clearly I was perpetuating the self-censorship, to then just surrender, drop it all, and take a punt, take a risk.
Yeah.
And honestly, even though it's 102 followers or whatever, and yet feels so deeply successful, because it's the truth. It's my truth.
It's your aligned action. It's what you're meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so funny. Not funny. I don't like that term because it's not funny, but it's interesting for me to see and hear that, because I've seen it from the moment I met you. I was like, oh yeah, he's a light worker. I was like, oh hi, hey buddy. And I remember, and I can't recall the year, but it was years ago. We went on a walk and we were walking down Ainsley, and I was like, so how's the light working community going? And you were like, like,
I remember that. I freaked out. I was like, what do you mean projectors seeing me so deep? Like,
I was like, oh, and I had a moment where I was like, oh, have I shared something that like isn't happening yet? But maybe he's not ready to hear it. Ooh. And then seeing you just step into that, I'm like, oh, like my being's like, yes.
at
He's
long
taking
last.
I know. It's like when you just, and my husband's done it with me. He's like, oh, finally, she's got it. Like, that, yes, he's on the right path. So, yeah. And I remember when you put out, you're like, oh, should I do a different account? I was like, all for whatever, but just do it because you're meant to be. And look, 102 followers, my God, if you were walking down the street and you had 102 people following you and championing you like down the street, you'd be like, okay, overwhelming. So like,
Yeah.
please own that because that is incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible.
It's so true. Like we often forget that there's a heart behind each of those followers, unless they're a bot.
Yeah. Unless they're bots. Look, honestly, I wouldn't mind if there were some robots following me too. Like, you'd also be like, okay, I've got like 10 humans and 2 robovacs. I'll claim it. I'll claim it.
Luckily. Yeah.
Oh gosh. No, but that's wonderful. Like I like what I'm hearing is it hasn't become so easy to you. And I can totally resonate with being so concerned about what other people think and aligning with something that's, yeah, less edgy to then start releasing your gifts. And like for if anyone following you for a long time, we've seen it. We've seen the drip feed, and I'm sure there's a lot of us that have just been like waiting. Come on. So yeah, as a champion of you, I am so proud and so happy that you're doing things that light you up, and that are, yeah, resonating with your Dharma.
Mm. Thank
Some
you.
people, some people will go through their whole lives and never, never had that, never not know what they're here to do or follow it, or might know, but don't follow it. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful
It is
work.
most certainly the brave path, like to take, I think. And typically, usually it's not the logical path from what I've seen and from others and when they've shared their own journeys, it's never the logical path or the realistic path to follow your alignment and what feels right. Whether you're a Formula One driver, an Olympic athlete, or a spiritual, like something, those pathways are very much a deviation from what a standard life looks like. And I think there does have to be this level of, there has to be a risk. I truly
Mm,
believe there's a risk at some level, whether it's personal, financial, structural, there is an element of risk. And, I think I'm talking on behalf of anyone listening that's sort of feeling the like, the tension of knowing that there's something that they're holding back on, is that I spent 4 or 5 years doing a litmus test in my own business. And I don't see that as a failure. I see that as the necessary action for me to do what I needed to do
mm,
to, I suppose, gain enough level of proof that I could then jump off the cliff.
mm.
And I think that's okay.
Yeah, nothing's an accident. Like it's all led you to this point. Um, and it might seem like it's completely off the path, but I'm sure if you looked and you wrote it down or drew it or however you wanted to creatively or reflectively express it, you would see that there's still some kind of weave
Mm,
between everything that you've done to get to this point.
mm,
Um, yeah. I had this moment myself a few years back when I left teaching because, such a safe, stable job. And I was like, oh, I had a moment. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, I just I've thrown away all of this. And then I did this little exercise and I kind of like drew like a path and like it was all through drawing because that's something that I love to do when I have that opportunity to do. And then I got to see the weave and I was like, oh, it's always been there. And am I exactly where I'm meant to be? No, because I know that something else is coming and I'm not exactly sure when, like, like I'm going to share when it's like, yeah, when I'm ready. But I'm really excited for that. And I'm sure people will be like, but what about this? And what about that? And I'm like, doesn't
Yes,
matter because this is where I'm going to be.
totally. Yeah. And there's a surrender in that as well. Like
Mm.
there's such a trust in that. Trust is very required.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so I'd love to talk more because I also am a believer in people are attracted to us. They might come to us for one thing and but it's not the thing, right? Like it might be one of the other modalities or something. Maybe it's a life experience or a past life experience that you can then offer some wisdom through. And I would love for everyone listening to have a bit more of an understanding about all the things that you can offer, um, because you have such a vast wealth of wisdom and skills
Mm.
and expertise. And if I think way back to when I first met you, you were working at an apparel brand, and you were a yoga teacher, and then to be here, like spiritual channeling, psychic, um, guide. Um, I want to say guru, but I feel like that's coming. But also, also like I know there's also a bit of ick around guru, but not for you. Like, you're a genuine soul. So yeah, I'd love, like, I can speak to, I've done a human design with you, I've done your light work, language. Actually, Violet did it too. She was a little bubba, and that's how we spent a lot of our time. Like, oh, and I loved that actually. And I'll speak a bit more to that because I think that needs to be shared. So, Andreas, you put out a um, light language course, that I was very honored to be part of the pilot. And I would have, oh, Violet was weeks old, up until months, maybe, because it was pretty early. And you went through different modules, and it was all about like activating your light language. So it was a lot of singing and sound and exploring your voice. And I vividly remember just sitting there. She's on her little mat, and we're just expressing. And then I was like, maybe like we've all got this. We lose it because we get caught up in whatever language we're growing up in. But we were connecting and communicating and like vibing. I was like, this is amazing. And yeah, I love that course. And I would, yeah, love to see more from you. But I mean, that's just one thing that you have offered. I've also done the human design reading with you, which just made so much sense. Everything just kind of dropped. And I was like, oh gosh. And I felt like after my session with you, you gave me permission. I mean, rest was a huge one for me that came out of that. And you gave me permission to be who I am without having to seek like validation or out having to seek permission from anywhere else or anyone else, and just an understanding and a deeper knowing of, oh, that's why that's happening. Or it's like, oh, that's just part of my design. I'm going to keep getting stories now. Like,
Mm.
like this is just part of my life. And it's been really helpful for me to have had that session. Um, so they're just two things. Um,
It fills
what
my heart so
else?
much to hear that though. Like it's just, to hear that that those two little pieces have been impactful and have created more permission in yourself, and that beautiful memory and experience with your daughter as well by doing light language is just so ah that's the heart piece there that makes me want to do any of this. And you're right, there's a lot of stuff that I've added into my toolkit over the years. And when I started, it was yoga. That was really the tradition that initiated me into spirituality and into practice. and it's grown organically through there. And I think if it's okay, I'd love to just almost just share the journey of that, and
Sure.
that will cover the pieces of what I do
Yeah.
offer now, because they all came through doing the work with people.
Mm,
And I never sat down and went, this is what I should do, and I'm going to learn how to do that. It
mm,
was that I had a very well established yoga practice. Eventually, I became a yoga teacher and did the training. As I started teaching yoga classes in, studios across Canberra, hustling between one studio to the next, and I was doing that for a few years, I started to feel like I wanted to meet people with more depth. And that's why I started to go into one-on-one yoga teaching. And then through there, it's like something just organically opened up, and I started to become more of a mentor for the people
mm,
that I was teaching yoga to. And it wasn't just yoga anymore. It became far more about personal and spiritual development and growth as well. I was going through my own sexuality healing and sexual healing during that time. And I was doing a lot of work discovering Tantra and holistic sexuality. And after many years of doing that, that's why Tantra came into the work. But, the best clients, though, as in the ones that really were the dream clients, so to speak, the ones where I felt like they impacted me and I impacted their life so much from working together, were the ones where they came for Tantra. Like, these are all gay men
mm,
working with me for Tantra. They came to me for Tantra and sexual healing, but then the work developed into something far deeper. And through those clients, it just organically happened that I started guiding these men down these like shamanic journeys and into past life healing and into cord cutting rituals and doing all of this stuff that at the time I was like, I don't even know where this has come from. This is beyond me.
mm,
And I realized pretty soon that I had to get out of the way and let the work come through. And as I did that, more and more pieces came through. And to sum it up all now, I have two pillars in my business. So the first pillar is the men's tantric work, which is like gay men's retreats and tantric healing and all of those experiences. And then the second pillar is all of my spirituality and light work. And that's the one I'd really like to talk about, because that's the one
mm.
that's on my heart. That's the cake that I've been baking for all of
Yeah.
this time. Um, and within that, I've created 4 offerings because I wanted to be able to work with people at the level that they were at, but also I wanted to be financially accessible to as many people as possible, because, you know, I've been down the online coaching space where I was charging thousands and thousands of dollars to work with me. And then that just became really unaligned. I felt like it was pricing people
Mm,
out. So I really took a hard look at that. So the 4 pieces that I really love and adore are The Sound of Your Soul, which is the light language program that you did as the pilot. If anyone listening to this doesn't know what light language is, essentially you tune in, just like you might do a meditation. You sort of like tune in to that quiet place within you, and you connect into love or connect into joy or into the earth, and you just make noise. Light language is essentially making noise, and it's an expression. It's your soul expression, just like babies and kids make noise because they're feeling a certain way and it's connecting them into something. I think that's what light language is. And sometimes it's a bit scary because it doesn't make sense on a mental level. And so that feels a little bit edgy for people to enter. But just as you experience, Rach, like it opens up something. It opens up your heart, I think.
mm,
And your heart then expresses through your voice. And for me, light language has been deeply healing to connect into the deeper elements of my own expression. And I think that's one of the reasons why I can do everything I do today with confidence, because I opened up my voice. and my
Yeah.
expression. So light language is one of my key programs. It's like a do it at your own pace, do it at home, you get it forever type vibe. And then human design readings, of course, is the other piece that you mentioned. We've been threading human design through this entire conversation, and there's so much people can Google about it, but I freaking love human design. Just like you, when I had my reading done, it felt like, oh, far out. Finally, I have permission to be me. Like, thank you,
Yeah.
God. Like, yeah. And so human design is a huge piece. And then the other two aspects are that's where I go a little bit deeper. So I created an offering called Divine Guidance Now, Please, which is essentially you know, I just had someone purchase that today, actually. So it's really top of mind, where you send me like what you need support with, what's not working, what feels clunky, what feels icky, whatever it is. And then I tune into your spiritual team. That is something that I can do and have been doing in the secret for quite a long time, like channeling my clients' spirit guides before their sessions, like not even letting them know that's how I prepared their session. Um, and then I thought I need to actually do this as a thing, and let it not be a big secret.
Yeah.
So the psychic work is that I tune into your spiritual team. It may be your spirit guides, but it could very well be someone else. Like it could be Gaia, it could be dragons, it could be an angel, it might even be a loved one. That I don't do that much mediumship. I tend to tune more into the like galactic, angelic, spiritual realm.
Mhm.
However, I have had past loved ones come in as well. And then I just send you a 20 to 30-minute audio recording of what they said. I channel it in
Wow.
the moment. So it's channeled in the moment. It's not me like distilling it down into something else. It's raw as.
Yeah.
But then that's a way to really connect you to that piece. And then my signature one-on-one program is called Inner Ascension Alchemy, which is essentially I become your spiritual confidant for like up to 6 months. And it's a series of sessions. And I did it in a way that you get to do it in your own timing when it suits you in that 6 month period. I was doing the like weekly thing. This is the frequency, fortnightly cadence. And like it just
Mm.
burnt me out and it was burning my clients out. And I was like, this doesn't support real life, man.
Yeah.
Like as a mom, I'm sure it's like sometimes you can't show up that day.
Totally, totally. And I love that you have recognized that and then built a program around that that like just fits real life, like you said. Like
Yes,
amazing.
exactly. It felt better for me, and I was like, I think it's going to feel better for them as well. So I'm really excited about that one because that's where I get to be one-on-one with you, and we have one-on-one face-to-face sessions or in-person sessions if you're not online if you're not in Canberra, otherwise in person if you are in Canberra. And yeah, we go all into it. And basically in that program, you have access to everything, whatever
Mm.
wants to come through, whether it's light language, channeling, tantra, human design, yoga, breath work, meditation, you know what I mean? Like they just keep rolling. Um, but rather than build it around those specific modalities, it's more about
Yeah.
holding the space for what organically needs to come through to get you to what that next place is, whether it's healing, activation, or clarity.
Mm. And I feel like, yeah, that sounds really juicy because you're getting all of Andres and I'm trusting that whatever needs to come up will come up and whatever modality you need to use will just come through. And like how lucky and how special for your clients because yeah, I feel like you can get stuck when you go to someone, you're like, oh, I think I need that, but oh, not really. Whereas with you, it's like, I know I need this one thing, but he has such a range of skills that I know I'm going to get what I need from it, is the sense that I'm getting.
It is a resonance. You're so right. Like there's there's some form of resonance with the energy, as in like the person, the client resonates with my energy, and
Mm.
there's a reciprocity or a symbiosis in that. And then because I get out of the way and I let myself tune into their energy field, which as projectors, that's inherently part of what we can do.
Yeah.
Like that always then reveals whatever's meant to come through. And then
Yeah.
from there, it's never like, well, now we must do this.
Mm.
It's an invitation, right? Like I'm feeling that this could be really beneficial. Are you open for your spirit guide to come through right now? Because there she's tapping on my shoulder, like that's kind of
Yeah.
where it's at.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. And yeah, the invitation, it's such a projector thing.
Yes. Yes.
The invitation's there. That is so, yeah, they're great. And I love that. And I love that's where you're at now. And yeah, I mean, I can speak to 50% of the four pillars, the four
Yes,
offerings.
I know you've done half of those. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like
Yeah.
you did Sound of Your Soul like probably what 18 months ago now? Like,
Yeah, I reckon it would have been, yeah, 19, 18, 19 months ago now, because it was like, I'm thinking January 2023.
wow. Yeah.
Like that's how long ago it was. And it's, yeah, it's definitely something that it stayed with me because I just remember I just had so many beautiful moments throughout that program. And for someone who has struggled with throat chakra being closed off, like anyone listening who's experiencing anything throat chakra, whether that's like sore throat, not feeling like you can speak your truth, anything doing with your thyroid, inactive, too active, overactive, talking too much, not talking at all those things,
Mm.
do this program because it was so beneficial just to be able to open up and be in my full expression with my, and yeah, I had my baby with me, my newborn, and we just connected via what would sound like complete babble, but babbling with a purpose.
Yes, it's babbling with heart, like I'm thinking of one of the guys that recently did the program, and he was just sending me a text afterwards sharing his experience. And he actually entered the Sound of Your Soul program because he wanted to connect into his intuition.
Mm,
And
totally can see that. Yeah.
yeah, and that's why light language is so great, because it is more of an intuitive flow, and it opens up your intuition. And that's because he's a tarot reader. So like even though it's light
Oh,
language, he was coming in to open up his intuition to lean further into his tarot readings. And I love that, because it's like it's not direct. It's not like, oh, I'm doing this so that I can be a light language practitioner. I mean, maybe that's what
mm,
he wants, but it's almost like more of I see this program more of as a way to connect into the soul within you. That's why I called it Sound of Your Soul. It's letting your soul express.
totally. Yes, 100% agree with you on all the things you've just said there because that resonates deeply. And Sound of Your Soul is the perfect name for it, completely. So, yeah. Oh, I'm just so glad that you listened, like received a message, listened to that message, and took action on that because you're putting out your incredible gifts, but incredible programs for people to live live with ease, live with alignment, live with peace, I guess. Um, and it's just so important. And I can resonate with being in this kind of work that I'm sure you've had moments where you're like, all along your journey, where you're like, am I on the right path? Is this resonating? Are people getting it? Yes, they are. Here's the message that I'm sending you.
Thank you. And you're so right. Yeah. Like probably once a month, I go through that process where I'm like, am I doing everything wrong? Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh,
That's the
God.
human part of us, right? Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how spiritual we are or how elevated we are or whatever we're doing psychically. We're humans here having a human experience, and that piece of us needs to be nourished the most.
Yes, and that can be forgotten too. Like from the spiritual world. It's like, you are
Can
still a
be.
human, like you are still on earth.
Mm.
Like you still got to do human things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, none of this would be happening without our body and without our humanness.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Oh, I had something that I needed to share and now it's just gone. Oh,
Ah,
um, I feel like anyone listening can, like, if you are listening, the message that I want you to hear following Andreas's journey is like, if you're being called to do something, and that could be, that might be changing the way things are. If you're living life at the moment and you're like, this is not, something's not right, something's off, I need to be doing more, I need to be doing something different, or you're being called to something like Andreas has, where it's tuning into your soul. I really hope that by listening and just being here, it gives you the confidence to take a step towards living that life, living a life of alignment. Because I found your journey so inspiring, Andreas, and I've loved it. Loved um, witnessing it. And I'm excited to see where you continue to take your life, like your life journey, because it is your soul work. So it's your life, right? Like it's you're
there's
not
so much
just,
behind.
yeah, it's not like the work. It's like, well, this is who you are. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. Thanks for doing
Thank
it.
you. I'm so grateful. Like, I think something that I just feel called to share to anyone that is experiencing that, having been through that tension for a very long time within my life journey, like something I needed to hear was that the world needs your light. The world needs you to be who you are because we've got enough people already being someone else, doing what they think
Mm,
they must do, as opposed to doing what their heart wants them to do. And we are in a deeply pivotal time of transformation on a collective level. It is the time for you to go within and listen to what is on your heart, because what is nudging on the inside of your brain and the inside of your heart going, hey, like, I know this is what you want. That part of you is what I call the second phase gift. It is the part of you that has been hibernating inside of you that is ready to start emerging. And yes, there is a caterpillar to a butterfly metamorphosis that takes time. It isn't
mm.
necessarily one to the other. It certainly wasn't for me. And like you, Rach, like leave teaching behind and move into this spiritual business, there's a journey,
Oh my
and there
gosh.
is challenge, and there are days
Yeah.
where we're like, whoa. And yet, I don't know about you, would you give it up for anything?
No, no way. Absolutely not. Even the worst days when you're like, yeah, when you just feel like it's everything's like, I mean, it's like birth and rebirth. I feel a lot about fire, right? It's like the burning, releasing. Even on those days where it's like, I am on fire. Not like the good, like, oh, I'm fire, I'm killing it. Just being like, oh my gosh, I am just purging, or like, oh, what's going on? No, wouldn't change it.
Yeah. And I think that's
Yeah.
because whether you're working a job that you hate, or whether you're doing something that feels perhaps a little bit more aligned to your soul, there are always going to be good days and bad days.
Mm,
And when those good days and bad days are because you have chosen to follow something that's deeply on your heart, it's like it's always a better day than if it was a
yeah.
bad the job you hate.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we work. I just got flooded with memories then, and I was like, oh, oh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've been there, done that. Like, I worked retail like the majority of my life. To be fair,
Yeah.
loved it. Absolutely loved it. For the most part. But yeah, there were some bad days.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, we'll leave that for another time.
Yes.
Oh, goodness me. Um, Yeah, well, yes, yeah. Sorry, I just need to like let that all, I need that message to just flow through me for a second because that was very important. And I don't want to just rush to the next thing. So if anyone's listening, they're like, oh yeah, I just need to breathe with that for a minute.
Mm.
Take a breath and let that sink in. Um, yeah,
Mm.
okay. We don't do this enough, do we? And I know on a podcast it can be hard because you're like, are they still there? It's quiet. Are they
Yeah,
gone? It's like, no, we're allowed to just have that time.
I think that's in essence with everything that you envisioned in this podcast, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Andrew, I'm so grateful that you're part of my community. I've always been grateful for you. Um, and yeah, I mean, I've mentioned how long I've been a part of your journey, but and you've also been a part of mine from very early days, um, supporting really the both arms of my business in different ways, which has been, I mean, speaking purely from the heart, it's been so touching to have you along with the ride, and even when I don't know what that ride is. And yeah, then to have you here today is just really special. And I'm reflecting on both of our journeys as well. And with everything you encompass and with everything you've been through along the years, along the journey, how do you take care of yourself? Like you've mentioned the reading and that that's become part of your practice, like it's been a part of your practice, as part of your living. But is there a ritual or a routine that you have to take care of yourself? Like a conscious self-care ritual that you could share?
There is. It's my mornings. My mornings are sort of the time that I try and carve out for myself the most. And in no way is my self-care ritual uh super pyramided and structured to the point where it suffocates. It's more of a like I've had to develop a sense of self-leniency, which to
Mm.
me is what creates the sustainability within doing this. But every morning or most mornings, I carve out 15 minutes of meditation for myself and I go to the gym.
Yeah.
And that's not every day. Sometimes I do Pilates or whatever the thing is. Sometimes I have a rest day. Uh, but that combination of moving my physical body and
Mm.
getting still, it sets me up to feel embodied in my day.
Yeah.
And rather than, I contrast that to the days where I will roll over, look at my phone, go on Instagram, and then feel like mentally overwhelmed within the first 20 minutes of my day. when,
Yeah.
when I put those against each other, it's like, well, the choice is pretty easy, even though sometimes it's the hard choice to make in the moment.
Yeah.
But I would say that and maybe this is a little bit of a like not so tradish answer. And I watch Home and Away religiously every weeknight at 7 p.m. And you know what? I'm putting that in as my self-care because it's just a half an hour nip at the end of the day. And I'm not much of a TV person, to be honest. Like I deliberately took a TV out of my room many years ago.
Yeah.
Uh, but there's just something about the ritual and the routine of that I just really enjoy.
I love that. I still love Home and Away when I was younger. So I'm like, it's still going. That is so cool.
It's still going. It's like 40 years strong. It's so over dramatic. Like it's ridiculous. And that's why I love it.
Sometimes you do need a little bit of like that drama where you just like, oh, I got into, oh, what was that series? The Summer I Turned Pretty, like a
Yeah.
teen romance drama. But I was like, I'm totally into this. Because you just need to be like, oh, okay. Take
And
a
even
breath.
Eckhart Tolle in the book that I was talking about in A New Earth, he mentions TV, and he talks about how TV, which these days the smartphone is equally as a valid distraction. Um,
Mm,
like he mentions how these things, just like anything, can get away with us and it can become something that doesn't support us. However, he made a point of saying that, like, you don't have to demonize these pieces. You can
mm,
intentionally consume this sort of thing, and it can add value to your life. And I think that I have been guilty of extreming things, like coffee is so bad I can never touch it, or I'm drinking it too much, and it's like,
mm,
same with TV or the phone. It's like, I actually do feel like there's these really healthy mediums that actually support us and
mm.
can add a beautiful sense of value into our life when they are in that resonance and balance.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you mentioned that as well because, um, yeah, you use the term intentional use. And I think we do demonize things like stop the scroll and mindless scroll. And it's like, you know what? Like last night, I spent a solid 15 minutes looking at pointless reels. But to me, it wasn't pointless because they were so freaking funny that I just had like a good cack. And like
Yeah.
they do, and like I said, like my friends would have been just bamboozled, just like, oh, okay, she's on a roll here. But I was like resonating, like particularly on my mum friends, just like, how funny is this toddler thing? Like, I just had a laugh. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter because that was my time, like to just sit and scroll, and it was funny. And I'm intentional about the accounts that I follow. So it's not like I'm like, and if anything comes up that isn't resonating, I just go past it. Or if it's a person I am following that it no longer resonates, I unfollow.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, we can so easily, as you mentioned, demonize them. But TV, social media, if you're intentional and you know what, if you're aware of what you're consuming, because it is all
That's the
consumption,
difference.
that
It's
is the
the
difference.
awareness, the action. Yes.
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
that's what Eckhart Tolle says as well. It's like the difference between being like somehow mindlessly ending up watching TV and flicking through channels that you don't care
Mm.
about for 25 minutes or half an hour versus my favorite show's on and I'm going to watch that. And then after
Yeah,
that show's over, I'm going to like brush my teeth or whatever the thing is. So
yeah,
they're different energies in different ways. One is intentional, present, and aware. The other one is distracted, unaware, and not very mindful.
absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, mindful consumption can come into those two things. It can come into food, it can come into conversation, um,
Anything, everything.
energy. Everything has energy. It comes back to that, what we started with. Like
The
everything
feng
has
shui.
energy. The feng shui of all the things.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Well, I feel like we I just welcoming distractions today. Sorry.
Maybe that's the
Um,
cosmic wrap up.
I know it's like focusing on patience, focusing on just letting things be as they may be. But I feel like on today's podcast, we have shared lots of mindful tidbits and tips and tricks and hopefully, yeah, little bits and pieces that people can take and embrace and maybe implement in their daily lives. Now, and if they do have more questions or a burning desire to work with you, if they've listened and it resonates really deeply with, um, you know, whether that's that channeling that they need just an answer to now or wanting to work deeper with you, how do we find you? How do we get Andreas into our lives?
Yeah. So my website is andreasembodiment.com. If you're more of a social media gal, then I would suggest that if you're on Instagram, you check out Awake in the Game. That is the new like Instagram that I have. And from there, you'll be able to find my like link tree and see all the things. But essentially, I'm on everything. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and I'm on Twitter. So if you just Google Andreas Embodiment, I'll come up.
Perfect. And what I'll do too for everyone listening is I'll put your links in the show notes so people can just go to yeah, all those things so that they're just there. We'll be focusing on awake in the game.
Yeah.
And if you follow me at Shinom Natural, yeah. I've shared Andreas's accounts. So, and I'll continue to do so in our as I share little tidbits from the podcast over the next coming months. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And most importantly, thank you for your time and your energy and your presence in today's conversation. And thank you for also being on par with this family universal like, journey that I'm going on with my what do I call them? Little visits. I'm not going to say distractions or anything other than my little visitors coming in today, daughter and husband. But I mean, this is raw. I am a mum, I am a wife, and I'm at home. Like I have the reason my screen is blurred too is because this is traditionally my husband's office and I like moved in. So I'm just like slowly putting in feminine things. Like right behind me, I'll take it off, is like a UFC poster. So I'm like, not my vibe. But
I'm just going to blur that out.
but I've got a plant. So I'm like, I'm moving in.
Yes.
And I put the couch because I have a vision of like sitting in front of the couch, like it's like a couch conversation.
Yeah, cool.
But having it on my computer means I can have anyway.
Me.
It's like better quality on the computer than the phone, but it's like anyway. Thanks for listening, everyone. And I feel I need to ask, I feel called to ask if you are listening to the podcast and you are skilled or have a burning desire to create some like little jingle, little music to go as an intro and an outro, please get in touch with me because it's something that's been on my mind because I literally just start the podcast very like abruptly, like, hi, I'm in your earphones. Like, yeah, I feel like we need like a little bit of music or something to like ease in and ease out. So if you're listening and you are like, yes, I want to help reach out with that, please get in touch because I need you. I need the help. I need the love. So yeah. Thank you again. Presence, energy, time, effort, all the things that you've put into being here today. And I'm so incredibly grateful. And yeah, I look forward to following your journey and seeing what comes next.
Thank you, Rach.
Andres.
It's been such a pleasure. It's just felt like a kind of like a full circle moment to come back and be in your energy again. It's been too long, and it's just, I'm so glad that I got to meet your daughter as well today during this. It's so special.
Yeah. I'm so glad to. Well, hopefully we can meet in person again soon because
Yeah.
and I'm having another baby. I'm due for yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Show you.
Congratulations.
I'm very pregnant.
Oh my God. You're pregnant. Oh, wow. You are
I'm
pregnant.
like full pregnant. I'm due within like 5 to 9 weeks.
Amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm like, things are brewing. And I'm not quite sure where they're like literally something's brewing, but
There is a bun in the oven.
there is a bun. So yeah, I've kept that pretty quiet, not fully intentionally. Like it's not like I'm like not sharing with the world yet. It's just I don't know. Again, waiting for the invitation and the time will be right. So anyone listening, you find out first. So thanks for listening. It's like a bonus.
Yes.
Oh, my friend. Well, I'm going to stop the podcast here. So anyone listening, I Follow along at Shine On Natural on Instagram, Facebook, my website, www.shineonnatural.com.au or shineon.com.au or at shineonau. Haven't deviated too much from the name. And jump onto our mailing list to find out who I'll be called to invite onto the podcast next. But at the moment, I haven't got anyone in mind. So I'm going to wrap it up here with Andreas. Have a beautiful day, evening, whatever time you're listening. And yeah, tune into your heart and follow whatever messages come through. So farewell, friends, and bye.